When I was 12 years old, I became a Jack Nicholson superfan. This happened almost overnight on an evening in February 1997 when I first saw The Shining.
Here's Johnny!
In those 20-plus years, I never stopped being a Jack superfan.
I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
Get ready for You Don't Know Jack, hosted by me. Subscribe today on your favorite podcast platform.
Welcome to Ivy League Murders. On this podcast, we focus on cases affiliated with the Ivy League, exploring the darker side of higher education. What happens when genius becomes evil? My name is Sarah Alcorn. I'm a Harvard graduate, and I've been a private investigator since 1999. Join me and longtime crime diva Laura McDonald for Ivy League Murders.
The Cross'em Wrestling Entertainment Podcast, presented by Clovercrest Media, is what you AEW fans have been looking for. Noah Cross and Tyler Bard give their take on every week's episode of Dynamite. If you are a massive AEW fan, then it is time to join us every Sunday at noon Eastern Standard Time. Stay Cross'em.
Clovercrest Media Group presents a CMG podcast, Keys to the City.
Keys to the city, baby. When you see us, so you know.
Crossed up by Kobe, little floated to Shaq, and then Shaq goes like this, and the rest is history. Pay attention! Don't tell me what to do, Devil Woman. But speaking of those Lakers, hold on. But I didn't make my. I said Denver's gonna win. Yeah, you did. You said that.
There's no other show like that. Clovercrest is doing great things right now.
Streaming everywhere.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, prepare your ear holes for the best wrestling, the hard-hitting wrestling show.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Hard Hitting Wrestling Show. Once again, it is Tuesday evening and this is the post reaction not only on Hell in a Cell but also the road to the Survivor Series. Now, we had our show last Sunday night discussing on all the events that's happened in Hell in a Cell and what could possibly lead into what our near future. And we already have seen the new champion, Randy Orton, which we could assume that there might be a possibility between him and Drew McIntyre going at it again. All right. But then there's also somebody else called The Fiend that might be in the picture. But what was so extraordinary was the fact that Drew McIntyre had a positive attitude about the whole thing. Yeah, he lost the title, but there's something that he had stated on the show on Monday Night Raw that we could all learn from, and we'll be discussing that in the takeaway. Furthermore, we're going to be talking more of the Survivor Series because now the matches are building up, in which that event was going to take place November 22nd. So 4 weeks from now, Survivor Series, but there's a brand missing. So what's going to happen now? All right. And with all these team building, the traditional 5-on-5 from each brand going after each other, we're going to make that prediction and we're going to let you know who's actually going to be in those matchups. And with me right here, I have Big Jason Hector V in the house. How's it going, guys?
Doing good.
Yeah, hey, plenty of action, especially on Monday Night Raw. I can't even anticipate what's going to happen on SmackDown. But, hey, well, let's start off real quick. Drew McIntyre, all right, got on the show, and he pretty much stated, and he referenced the movie The Rocky, all right? Those of you that know Rocky Balboa, as you can see the screen there, it's not about how hard you hit, it's how hard you get hit and keep moving forward. And that's the quote that he used to validate himself as to, hey, I might have lost the title, but I'm going to get it back. All right. And Hector, what's your take on this?
I think what he said was something very positive, because I think one of our greatest powers is the ability to choose. And he chose to stay positive and not negative. You know what I'm saying? He quoted something from a Rocky movie. And even though the movie was fictional, but, the message was powerful, because even going back a little bit from what Rocky has said, you can allow, this world is a nasty and mean place, you know what I'm saying? And it's going to beat you to your knees, but it's going to be up to you whether or not you permanently choose to stay there and let it, you know what I'm saying? And he did not do that. He understood that this is a lesson learned, that, he is human, he's vulnerable, and that, you're not perfect. And we have to understand that none of us in life are perfect. We're going to make our mistakes, but what we do with that, is our choice. And if we choose to make it a positive situation, then we can use that to empower us to be a better person for the next title run, and especially in his situation.
And you know what? I mean, we explain it from pro wrestling perspective, but we could also use different examples to where, let's say, like, for instance, you're a student at a college or high school, middle school, whatever. You failed an exam. That doesn't mean that the world is going to end. You just got to keep pushing yourself to pass the exam, Or maybe that's the job. You didn't get that promotion. Okay. You keep working hard. Sooner or later, you're going to get there. There's just so many scenarios here and there, not only just in wrestling, but you can use it in every sport, pretty much. Jace was watching a volleyball game, and the girl, one of the members, was just getting torn up because she was probably the weakest link. But I'm sure that her teammates were there for her to build her self-esteem up and get aggressive to win the game. So
yeah, they were picking on her every time. The server would serve it right to her. But every time, every set, she just came back. She kept trying. And a couple worked. A couple she was able to return and get back. But it is all about when you hit your failures, when you're at your lowest, you can come up and come back and try your hardest and learn from your mistakes too. And what Drew McIntyre said is very powerful.
Right, and it has some similarities with SmackDown Chad Gable. Chad Gable changed his name. He is no longer Shorty G. Okay, he's bringing back his old self. How he got into wrestling, what worked for him to have a success, and honestly, his success was being a tag team partner. His success by himself has pretty much has not gotten him into a title picture, and the only title picture he got is being a tag team champion. So, what's not to say someone and his caliber that he could relate to be partners and stir up the tag team division in SmackDown. I think that's a brilliant idea. But moving back to Raw, something fascinating happened on Raw, and man, this is a dream come true, a dream match probably to see maybe a triple threat match, or just a scenario to where the Fiend could tease either Randy Orton or Drew McIntyre. But I had thought in this scenario that if the Fiend was coming out wasn't towards Randy Orton, I wanted him to chase Drew McIntyre, because I always saw Drew McIntyre as an evil dude. I think his character should be a heel. I think it's better for him. But then again, I mean, what other superstars has the same size and strength of Drew McIntyre? That body, that build. You know what I mean? Minus, I guess, Braun Strowman and Keith Lee. You know what I mean? But this guy right here, Drew McIntyre, he's a beast, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I like the matchup of The Fiend versus Drew McIntyre. But, I mean, what made the Braun Strowman versus The Fiend rivalry so good was the history. And boy, does Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt have some history. You saw in the background of the Firefly Funhouse, we saw the image of the burning Wyatt compound. So there's definitely something to that, and I'm excited to see that get them dive deeper into that.
Yeah, and I think this is going to elevate Drew McIntyre to a whole new level that he hasn't experienced. You know, all three of them, I think more Randy Orton, because he's the champ, has caught himself in the middle. And let's not forget the Mr. Money in the Bank. The Miz is lurking around, and he's going to pick the bones like a vulture. He's just going to let all this play out.
I'm glad that you mentioned that. I really do, because the fact that the Miz cashed in the Money in the Bank on Randy Orton, on Randy Orton. So was not to say that he does it again for the second time.
Yeah, I could see that happening. You know, that could be something that, you know, we could see maybe Drew McIntyre and The Fiend start just going at it, you know, maybe a small feud, leaving Randy Orton kind of vulnerable to The Miz, you know, so we could see something like that down the line. But I think it's great right now, especially with the draft. I mean, Raw now is elevating it to a whole new level, and now it's worth seeing Monday Night Raw.
History has a way of repeating itself, and that might happen with Randy Orton and The Miz. But also, who's not to say history doesn't repeat itself, like what happened in The Fiend with his latest Universal title run, how Roman Reigns came in and took it the next week. Maybe The Fiend beats Randy Orton for the title, and the cash and the Money in the Bank gets cashed in on The Fiend.
You know, I'm glad you said that, because you remember The Miz, he's already been spooked by Bray Wyatt. So, you know, yeah, we got a little bit of history there too. And I think all the history is just in the advantage of The Fiend / Bray Wyatt. He has the upper hand on all these, you know, so-called histories between everybody except for Drew McIntyre.
I'm going to tell you what, man. I'm thinking the other angle here. I'm saying, and this title run, I think is going to happen at TLC. All right, so mark it. I'll save this episode at TLC. The Miz cashes in the Money in the Bank briefcase at whoever is the current champion during that time. And I'm going to say this, all right, because there's a match with Randy Orton, champion versus champion, with Roman Reigns, okay, I don't think anything's going to happen right there and then. But for TLC, it makes a lot of sense when you have tables, ladders, and chairs. Someone's going to get knocked out, all right? And whoever's the champion there, all right, is going to be so weak to defend himself that The Miz is going to take advantage. And that will result into this. The Miz and Morrison's relationship will break up right there to start the new year, all right? Because The Miz will be the champion, all right? And is going to get over his head that he's the man. And you guys say the history repeat itself. So did Adam Riley, right? Oh, Alex Riley, excuse me, who was the right-hand man for The Miz. Mm-hmm. They broke up, had their beef. Also, Morrison and The Miz have history too, because they were former tag teams and they broke up. All right? Yeah. And it just happened to be because of the draft. So,
yes. Ovi, with that being said, does this mean you're picking John Morrison to win the Royal Rumble?
You know, that could be a strong possibility, but I've been hearing that Big E might be the guy to win the Royal Rumble, because it might be his shot to main event WrestleMania. But speaking about WrestleMania, we also have Roman Reigns and SmackDown, which many people believe that Roman Reigns and The Rock might match up for this WrestleMania. And the rumor is that it might not be in Hollywood. It could be pushed to Tampa Bay. So many scenarios, and we're getting into that window to what we'll be calling the road to WrestleMania pretty soon. You know, they say it starts at the Royal Rumble, but I got a feeling it starts right now, because there's a lot of first storylines coming up, and it's building, and I like the way things are flowing right now. I really do.
Yeah, it's exciting, man. This draft really stirred it up, and now we got a lot more scenarios that we can angle at different things than before we did with the draft happen. So, yeah, it's great. I love it.
But again, Vince McMahon might throw a curveball at us, and nothing that we say is going to happen. But it is what it is, and you got to love wrestling for that. But hey, speaking about wrestling and the love for our WWE, we have the Survivor Series that's coming up November 22nd, 2020 at the Thunderdome. And man, already we got some set matches. But before we confirm these matches, let's look at the first one right here, which already started on Raw, the qualifying matches. We had Keith Lee, Sheamus, and AJ Styles win their respective matches. 2 more has to be added to this team. And I wanted to ask you guys right now is which 2 superstars will fill in for Monday Night Raw?
Seeing how right now we got one face on that team, I'm thinking somebody like a Jeff Hardy is going to wind up getting another shot at it and getting in there. I could see something like that happening, that way he gets a redemption match, and then getting in there and squeezing himself in there as one of the 5.
I'm not mad at that. I
don't know. I mean, why not Ricochet, which doesn't have anything going on unless he joins the Hurt Business? But I think they're set. And I had thought the Hurt Business and the Retribution were going to have their moment on the pay-per-view event, but it seems like they're keeping them only on Monday Night Raw. But this is pretty much hard to tell. I thought maybe Matt Riddle would be awesome in this because he had his epic match last year, in the Survivor Series. And it was not to say that you're right. Maybe he could return with and be on that list, because on SmackDown, I'm going to tell you right now, I believe that Seth Rollins could lead SmackDown because he wants his revenge of last year, which he couldn't be that leader. And I believe Aleister Black will join him. I think Big E and Lars Sullivan may be in it. And King Corbin will be the 5th guy to make Team SmackDown. What do you guys think?
Unless they match up Murphy with Rollins for a qualifying match, I could see maybe Murphy squeezing in there.
Oh, I love Murphy in there, and then both the Mysterios creating that sort of weird dynamic. I love that right there. And then maybe something like a Cesaro Shinsuke. I think we don't have any word on a tag team Survivor Series match. So I could see some tag teams getting thrown on to these Survivor Series.
I'm glad you mentioned the tag teams because the tag teams we'll discuss later, it's already been set, champion versus champion.
Yeah.
But it's going to be pretty interesting to see who the 2 final slots are for Raw. And Saturday to say, it doesn't seem like NXT will be involved in this triple threat matches like how it was last year. I'm pretty much saddened about it because I was living in a hype like what could possibly happen this year, but I don't think we're getting it unless they surprise us on anything that happens on NXT that will result of, hey, you know what? Oh, NXT's coming in late, and then they're gonna make it happen. As a matter of fact, they got Halloween Havoc coming up on NXT on Wednesday, so let's see if there's any surprises there.
I like NXT. I take nothing away from the black and gold brand, but I think it's just fitting that we keep the red and blue brand for brand supremacy here. Especially now we got the election coming up, red and blue going at it. Why not just have the red and blue brands, SmackDown and Raw, just go at it just to see who is the supremacy. But I love the fact that if there has to be controversy on both sides, where both teams have to have teammates that they just can't get along, so it makes it harder for us to choose who's going to be the brand supremacy. I love it.
Well, you're talking about teammates that can't, they got beef with one another. On this one right here, it's a perfect match. All right, the Raw's Woman 5-on-5 is set. We have 2 tag teams and Lana.
The way you say it, and Lana.
But I want you guys to pay attention, man. October is the month of bully awareness, bully prevention, and stuff like that. We see Lana getting bullied by Nia Jax, and every time they meet up, she's hitting that table. Okay, I lost count how many times she got smashed on the table, but Be prepared for Lana to elevate herself, defend herself, and maybe be a future Raw Women's Champion. I'm telling you that right now. Just be prepared. All right, because this story probably a lot better than the comeback story of Daniel Bryan with the Yes Movement. Okay? I just want to put that out
What
there.
are you smoking, Obi?
Oh, I'm not
What?
smoking because that is what's going on right here. Pay attention. How many times has she been picked on? Just saying.
And how many times she's overcoming it by winning a battle royal and getting into the Survivor Series. I mean, yeah, she's something got to give.
If you go from Asuka to Sasha Banks to Asuka to Lana, what are you doing?
Hey, but she's been training, all right? But let's put it this way. You ready? Was not to say that she's the lone survivor and wins it.
I could see that happen. I could see that happening. She's finding a way of just getting by, and I can see that. I can actually agree with that.
And she'll do it to her opponents, which I'm predicting: one, Bianca Belair, Natalya, Tamina, Zelina Vega, and I'm adding Billie Kay as the weakest link on that team. All right, just like Lana, and maybe that will be a 5-on-5. I can see that. I like Bianca Belair because then you have, what's her name? I'm seeing her right now. What? Oh my God! What's her name?
Shayna Baszler.
Shayna Baszler. Why can I not figure that out?
She's got
Danny
that
Rose
look.
and Danny Brooks. Oh my God.
Look at that
Anyways,
face.
so you got them pairing off. Then you have Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan. Okay. Look, and then Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke. I'm telling you, this is a whole mess. And then of course you can't leave out Tamina if she's in the picture. But there ain't that many women superstars in each brand anyway. You know?
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, I mean, I don't think you could put Bailey in the picture. You know?
No.
And then if Bailey's in the picture, then maybe so. Maybe SmackDown will win it. But I got a feeling that Raw this year, this Survivor Series, will take over and win them all. And that's just my opinion, but we'll see. But hey, other matches there. We got the WWE Champion versus Universal Champion.
That's going to
Randy
be
Orton
awesome.
versus Roman Reigns.
Oh yeah.
That's going to be awesome.
I could see the Fiend interfering here. He's got a little bit of heat with both guys.
Yes. But, I mean, it's good. It sounds good, but I don't think it's going to happen. We will get a winner, and I got a feeling Roman Reigns is the guy that's going to win. But, hey, more to follow on this because anything can happen. All right? Then you got champion versus champion again. Raw Women's Champion. Asuka versus SmackDown Women's Champion. The new champion, I should say, with Sasha Banks. We already know the outcome of this. We've seen this match before. I don't see anything different. Of course, right now, Asuka's favored to win this match.
Hey, I see something different with that match, though. I don't expect Sasha Banks to be champion going into Survivor Series. I think Bayley wins it back before then.
Bayley makes it back, and then she replaces Sasha Banks.
Yeah,
that's happened before.
Sasha doesn't have these long reigns for a reason. They don't like that.
It's happened before. Yes. You know, but my favorite out of all is these guys right here.
Oh, that's going to be great.
On Monday Night Raw, if you didn't see, the New Day acted like they were the Street Profits.
That was great.
Yes. With the Red Cup, everything. I mean, it was identical. And I'm just interested to see how the Street Profits will answer on SmackDown with Big E being the witness. I'm just saying, fam. Know what I mean?
Hold on here. Have you seen that they, correct me if I'm wrong, but they crowned the Street Profits as a Grand Slam champion?
No.
Grand Slam.
I don't
Meaning
know.
that they won the NXT, the Raw, and the SmackDown titles. and so they considering them the
That'd be
grand
triple crown.
Triple
yeah,
crown.
yeah. I don't agree with that if that's the case because they did not win the SmackDown titles. They just swapped titles.
You're right. You're right.
And so I don't agree with that Triple Crown title. You know, they didn't earn that title. You know?
Well, neither did
That's
the
a
New
good
Day
point.
earn their title. So does that mean they're now the 10th?
Yeah, but they already done it.
But they've done it before, though. They've
Oh
won
no,
on-
okay.
But
I get what you're saying.
But do you add one more to the New Day?
I think they did.
No, I
I
wouldn't
think
add-
they did.
But I wouldn't add one more title reign to the New Day. No, I wouldn't do that because they just. I give you a title, you give me a title, and all of a sudden we got to add that to our resume. We
Yeah.
didn't earn it. We didn't earn it though. They just swapped. That's not a no.
Nah.
No one went out on their back, so
Yeah, but somebody's gonna be laying on their back after Survivor Series.
And
Yes, sir.
and it could be this one right here. It could be Sami Zayn going against Bobby Lashley. But I could see an interference where Sami Zayn wins because Retribution is gonna interfere in this match. I know this for a fact. It's gotta
I
happen.
like that. I like that. Also, Sami Zayn is so like weaselly and so slimy. Like you're gonna need the Hurt Business out there to help Bobby Lashley with Sami Zayn, because Sami Zayn's gonna figure out something. He's gonna pull out the handcuffs or something. You know, he's got something wild in his brain to come up, and he's got a game plan. I know he's got a game plan against Bobby Lashley.
He can't outmuscle Bobby Lashley.
No, he can't. But but what's interesting here is this right here, the Fiend. Where does the Fiend fit in this picture right here for the Survivor Series?
I don't know. He's been dipping his toes in a lot of stuff. It's interesting. But like I mentioned earlier, I like him to – his presence will at least be felt. I don't know if it will have an impact on the outcome of the match. His presence will be felt in the Randy Orton versus Roman Reigns match because he has unfinished business with both them. And I'm interested to see – what will come, and I love seeing the Fiend, and he has to be at Survivor Series.
Yeah, and I think if they just build him up to the character that he is, I mean, just not put a title on him. Just keep the character the way it is, wreaking havoc, people trying to, you know, test the waters with him and failing. You know what I'm saying? That's what I want to see. I mean, with the Hurt Business, I mean, not the Hurt Business, I'm sorry, Retribution already tried, and they already seen that he's not one to play with, you know what I'm saying? And so we're getting the second coming of an Undertaker. I mean, this is what we need. We just don't need to put a belt on him yet. Let him wreak havoc against everybody because he could right now. I think he controls Raw. I think so. I know we got our champion, but he's putting the fear in everybody at the same time. If you could be standing in the presence of the Hurt Business and Retribution and get them looking at you, you have control. And I think that's what's happening on Raw. He's got control.
When you can get the champion to go away from you and towards the former champion, you have control. You have that intimidation factor.
Absolutely. So with the Fiend, if you didn't mess with him, he ain't gonna mess with you. Remember that saying? You know, like you go to the
well one too many times.
When you go to the wood line, so you see an insect or you know, scorpion, whatever, they tell you leave the animals alone because they won't mess with you. This is the same thing here. All right,
Don't touch the glass.
The Retribution tried the first time and the Fiend disappeared. He comes on Raw. Retribution trying to mess with him and Alexa Bliss. Things didn't turn out so well. All
and
right?
what's up with Mia Yim? She had the itches. What happened to her? She got the Fiend inside of her.
She croaked.
She was twitching.
I'm just surprised that they were, you know, wrestling, to be honest with you. I thought Retribution was deep, but all of a sudden, we haven't seen a lot of those superstars with Retribution. So I'm wondering what was the change on that. But as far as the Fiend, I think I still believe that he should go after Drew McIntyre. I really do. I don't think he has any. Yes, he has history with Randy Orton, but I think it'll be all right, man. Get Drew to be the heel. I want to see him the heel.
I agree with that completely.
But it changes people, so why not beat him like more of a beast? You know what I mean?
He needs some competition. I think
go back to the Scottish
psychopath. Exactly. And it's not too late. I mean, look, he can still be the Scottish psychopath and still win the WWE title. You know?
Yeah.
Because hey, how many times The Rock became the champion, both heel and babyface? You know, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Undertaker, Triple H. Yes, I mean, what was it, seven times? I mean, equally. You know what I mean? I mean, it's good. It's good. I just wish Drew McIntyre lost SummerSlam, and then like Hell in a Cell would have been the one to gain it back. You know what I mean? He should already be like a 2-time champion. But hey, that's how the story lands, and we'll have to see what's going to happen in the near future.
So if you like Drew McIntyre going back to the Scottish psychopath as a heel, then would you like to see The Miz go face, or him and Randy Orton? Because you got too many heels in that situation there.
But The Miz will not stay. Remember, The Miz was babyface for a while. But for him to be the WWE champion, he's already going to be heel, because then you have Morrison to be the babyface.
Yeah.
And people love John Morrison.
That'd be awesome.
You know what's awesome, though? When they started teasing Drew McIntyre, and you said, well, you're going to wait another 19 years?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Got him.
And then he started talking like Drew, and then he got headbutted, man. Or no, he got punched. Miz got headbutted. But hey, it's just hilarious. Those
and
two
the glasses got broken.
But hey, you know, now we did not see Tucker on Monday Night Raw, so that just tells me that they're gonna have him stay on SmackDown. But I wouldn't keep. Let's put it this way. I believe that there will be a match set for SmackDown with Tucker and Otis and go at it a one-on-one. That match has to happen.
Yeah, I can see that happening. I mean, it's long overdue, and Tucky's going to get his. So,
who's not to say they're in the Survivor Series teams either?
Ugly. No, that's they don't get along. So why not be in the team? You're absolutely right.
Not on the team, against each other. Like Tucky for Raw, Otis for SmackDown.
I like that. I like that call. Yes. Here's another one. Angel Garza. So there was a scene on Monday Night Raw. He was trying to give a rose to Mandy Rose, and then he went to Nia Jax.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how that's going to play out. Whether he's still going to target Mandy Rose or he'll be with Nia Jax. I don't know. He even tried to do it to Shayna Baszler, but I don't think he understood the status that Shayna Baszler is at. So they say love is blind. So
that's because it's them to go at it at the Survivor Series while they're on the same team. Trying to play Casanova over here.
Oh, hell no.
And then Selena Vega on the other side? Oh, gosh.
One last thing. Roman Reigns is set to go against Randy Orton, but the storyline, do you think his storyline with being the chief, is it still going to continue, or will we see somebody else chase Roman Reigns?
I think the tribal chief is going to continue. I like it. I'm starting to get into it. The tribal chief thing, I like it. You know, that's just show that you're the head of the table. Nobody on SmackDown is going to challenge that. You know, he's going to reign for a while. You know, he may get the Usos to join him, you know, by default because of this, you know what I'm saying? And then maybe we could see a small teaser with The Rock with this later down toward WrestleMania. But I think until then, I think this tribal chief is going to go on. And I think with that, Randy Orton is going to have a hard time at Survivor Series because of the tribal chief, not Roman Reigns.
You're right. I like this gimmick. The big dog was what it was. It's all over. I like the tribal chief. The creation of it, him having to go against Jay, not the best, but I understand how you needed to do that for the story. Let's see the tribal chief go up against other big guys, and we got it at Survivor Series with Randy Orton. And also another thing not a lot of people are talking about is they talked about it at Hell in a Cell in the SmackDown before. With the stipulation for I Quit in the family is you become an indentured servant to Roman Reigns. So I would not be surprised if that's the bloodline becomes a faction and you have the Usos behind Roman.
I think it's a record-setting faction going on in the WWE. I mean,
hey, I like factions. I'm not mad at it.
No, but faction also has a tendency of jealousy, and all we got to say is which faction will actually split up first, and that will be for another topic. But we'll move on till next week. The Hard Hitting Wrestling Show will be back Tuesday, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and it's also brought to you by CMG Podcast. You want to start your own show, by all means, go to clovercrestmedia.com, find out more, because hey, if you want your voice to be heard, that's the place to do it. So on behalf of everyone here, Jace, Hector, thank you guys. And next week, we'll talk more about the road to the Survivor Series, give you updates, and we'll also talk about, what the future looks like for the next WrestleMania. So take care, everyone. Good night. Thank you for watching the Hard Hitting Wrestling Show.
Visit the HHWShow.com sportscast where you can find all the news, rumors, updates, and predictions from the Hard Hitting Wrestling Show, all 4 downs, join about the G-Men, and keys to the city. If you ever want to do a podcast, this is the place to do it. Starting at $15 a month, you can get unlimited hosting and $50 a month for the full package. Visit clovercrestmedia.com for more information.
A big thank you to the StreamYard for their fine streaming service. On behalf of HHW crew, I am Ovi Muniz. Thank you for listening to the Hard Hitting Wrestling Show.